Peace, shalom. This is Yeshaya, giving honor and praise to the creator of heaven and earth. Just want to touch on a very quick subject. Brothers and sisters, this is the month of August, 2019. And as people been speaking about the 1619 matter that happened in Jamestown, Virginia, and the situation of people speaking about 400 years or so. There's a couple of things to sit there and mention concerning that. One, and I said this in no disrespect, but rather in honor of the fact of the people that were brought over. The first ship known to come to what we call the United States of today was not in 1619. There were records of it happening in what the state of New Mexico was a century before the situation that happened in Jamestown, Virginia. Also, the people that was brought to Jamestown, Virginia were not directly from Africa. They were from Brazil and being reshipped after they were already captives in the land of Brazil. So that's another thing we like to sit there and point out for edification purposes. Another thing, my friends, is to sit there and mention the fact that in what we call the states of today of North Carolina and South Carolina, there were already people that was being transported there from what we call the Dominican Republic as slaves. And that was done, if we get back into history, as stated in 1526 by a guy named Lucas Vasquez Alone. So these are things we just want to point out in regards to that for edification purposes. Now, you have what they call the 13 colonies, starting with Virginia in 1607, ending in Georgia, 1732, 1733 era. Wasn't until 1776 when they got what they called the United States that it was no longer colonial America. So colonial America was basically after the aspect of the Dutch that was in America. The place we're in now, Manhattan, you understand, is a place that's named by the Lenape people that lived in this place here. It used to be called by the Dutch as New Amsterdam, and when the English took it over, you understand, in the 17th century, it was later on called York after the Duke of York. So these are things of Europe. So these are things we just want to point out in that particular regard. So now, breaking this down, when people try to sit there and promote or push the 1619 date, is not to say the hell with those who were suffering that was brought over to Virginia in 1619, but we want to emphasize that that was not the first ship to be brought over to what we call currently the United States of America of today. In this book right here, brothers and sisters, Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68, I chronicle that entire timeline that's concerning the slave trade and what happened with that. In this book, I want to emphasize also, I spoke about George Bush, talking about the slave trade. I spoke about Thomas Jefferson, talking about the slave trade. Talked about the aspect of the situation that happened with Gabriel Prosser and the situation with him, Thomas Jefferson, as well as James Madison, who was the governor of Virginia at that time in circa or the era of 1800 AD. So, making a longer story short, just wanted to do this quick video, this quick sit down and so forth and so on in regards to history, in regards to what happened in timeline and so forth and so on. The slave trade to what we call the United States did not start in 1619. The colonies, Virginia being the first in 1607, is why we're looking at it in many cases through the eyes of the British or the eyes of the English that colonized the place after the Dutch already done colonized it. Florida is not even an English word, it's a Spanish word. And Florida was never part of the 13 colonies. You understand? The place that is called Louisiana was never part of the 13 colonies. Louisiana is named after the French king, Louis XIV. You understand? There was slavery already there prior to that particular aspect. And as we know, even before there was any ship that was brought over west, the first one being recorded going to what we call Dominican Republic / Haiti was they referred to as Santo Domingo in 1518. There were already people being transported from the west going east, and those that were taken from Nigeria that went over, brothers and sisters, to Portugal and Lisbon. So there's a lot of history that this particular book right here covers. To get into, for those interested, contact me, 908-587-4841. Peace.